Imagine you wake up in a cold sweat. Your heart is just hammering against your ribs. Your breathing is super shallow, and you are like absolutely panicked because you just missed a massive career-ending deadline.
Oh, I mean, we have all been there. It is terrifying.
Right. It really is. And then you open your eyes, you look around, you see your bedroom ceiling, and the realization washes over you. It was just a dream.
Yeah, and that relief is just instant. You realize you're perfectly safe.
Exactly. But what if I told you that the knot of anxiety you carry around in your chest right now, like in your actual waking life about your job, your status, your endless to-do list, what if that is exactly the same kind of illusion?
It's a huge shift in perspective.
Yeah, it is. And that there's a highly specific step-by-step manual designed to, essentially wake you up from it.
Which completely flips the script on how we process daily stress, honestly, because we spend so much energy trying to, fix the problems inside the dream rather than realizing we just need to wake up.
Yeah, exactly. And the manual we're using to reverse engineer this awakening today is a really fascinating text. It's a translated 2015 text by Shuafang, edited by Kinyu, and it has this incredibly evocative title. It's called The Sutra of the Wonderful Method for Achieving the Right Fruit.
The title alone is just, wow, it sets a mood.
It really does. And the mission of this deep dive today isn't just to, casually browse some ancient-sounding philosophy. We are breaking down the exact mechanics of this sutra because it promises a literal way out of what it calls life's maze of confusion.
Right, the maze.
Yeah, to reach a state where you become a celestial among humans. And it introduces this core metaphor right out of the gate, which is illuminate the heart's lamp to light up the vast world, basically saying everything is in constant circulation and we're stuck running in circles unless we completely change our fundamental perception of reality.
Well, and to understand the cure they're offering, we really have to understand the text's diagnosis of the illness first.
Okay, lay it out for us.
So, the sutra explicitly tells us that our worldly worries are essentially an inverted dream. It literally states, a dream lasts one night, and upon waking, it vanishes. Dreams are full of worries and troubles, all turned upside down.
All turned upside down. That's powerful.
It is. It's asking you, the reader, to recognize that the emotional weight we give to our daily friction is fundamentally misplaced.
So the directive it gives to counter this is, well, simple to say, but wild to actually practice. It says, there is no need to fret over what happens in dreams. Be a celestial in the present moment.
Right. Just be it right now.
Which is directly challenging you to apply that exact same wave of relief you feel when waking up from a nightmare to, like, the passive-aggressive email you just got from your boss.
Exactly. Just realize it's part of the dream.
Yeah.
But, the text also acknowledges the trap here. It warns that the waking world is noisy and full of demonic obstacles, and that even a slight misstep can result in getting caught.
Okay, we really need to unpack the word demonic here because it's so easy to picture literal supernatural monsters hiding in the shadows, like some sort of horror movie.
Yeah, and that's not what it means at all. In the context of this framework, a demonic obstacle is simply anything that violently pulls your attention back into the illusion of the maze.
Oh, interesting. So, like what?
Well, think about the modern distraction economy. The allure of constant social media engagement, the pull of unnecessary drama in your friend group, the obsession with accumulating, stuff.
Just constant noise.
Exactly. These are the temptations, and they are demonic because they hijack your consciousness. They convince you the dream is real, which causes you to make that slight misstep and just become totally entangled all over again.
So, if the world around us is basically a noisy trap designed to entangle our attention, how do we actually walk through the maze safely?
Well, the sutra doesn't just offer vague spiritual comfort here. It hands us a highly rigid set of do-nots, starting with our physical, outward actions.
And the very first rule is, do not be greedy.
Which is classic, but the warning attached to that rule is incredibly stark. It says, anything excessive is life-threatening.
Wow, life-threatening. That's intense.
Yeah, it creates a very sharp duality. It states, greed turns one into a demon. Non-greed makes one a celestial.
So it's very black and white.
Totally. And the underlying mechanism here is really about gravity. I mean, greed is the act of accumulating mass, right?
Yeah.
Whether that's money or possessions or status.
Right. The more you have, the heavier you get.
Exactly. The more you accumulate, the deeper you sink into the illusion of the maze. The text advises that having just enough is good, because traveling light is literally the only way to remain nimble enough to dodge those demonic obstacles.
Which feeds directly into the second physical rule, which is do not rush. The sutra points out that the more one rushes, the more disorderly things become.
Which is so universally true.
Oh, we've all experienced this. You're running late, right? So you start rushing around the kitchen, and because you're rushing, you knock over your coffee mug.
And it shatters everywhere. Yes, it shatters. And now you are even later, and you're covered in coffee, and you're mad. The rushing literally created the disorder.
Yep. It birthed the chaos.
To counter this, the text offers this really beautiful proverb. It says, when the car reaches the mountain, there will surely be a way.
That one. Because the psychology behind that proverb is deeply rooted in how our brains actually process stress.
How so?
Well, when we rush, we literally and metaphorically experience tunnel vision. We focus so intensely on the obstacle, like the giant mountain blocking our path, that we completely lose our peripheral vision.
Right, because from 10 miles back, a mountain just looks like an impenetrable wall of solid rock.
Yeah.
You just think, how am I ever going to get over that? And panic sets in. But the sutra instructs us to follow changes calmly, because as you actually approach the mountain, the landscape reveals itself.
Oh, right.
You know, there might be a hidden pass or a tunnel or a curve in the road that you couldn't possibly see from a distance. Rushing basically blinds you to the solutions the environment is naturally offering to you.
Yes. I am totally with you on traveling light and not rushing the mountain. That all sounds great. But the third rule is where I really start to struggle with this text.
Okay, let's hear it.
The sutra mandates, do not contend. It claims that not contending is like the fruit of the arhat, which is a state of spiritual perfection.
Right.
But, I mean, in a deeply competitive world, refusing to contend sounds dangerously close to professional and social suicide.
It does feel like that. Yeah.
Right. Like if you don't fight for your promotion or your business or even just your personal boundaries, aren't you just going to get entirely steamrolled by everyone else?
That resistance you're feeling is the exact friction of the modern ego clashing with this text. It's totally natural. But the sutra anticipates this by pointing to the concept of transience.
Transience, okay.
It reminds us that everything is transient, and it uses the specific phrase, ela, which translates to a fleeting flash.
A fleeting flash.
Yeah, it's specifically referencing the night-blooming cereus flower. It's a flower that blooms for just a few hours in the dark and then completely withers by morning.
Oh, wow. That's a great image.
Right. So the text is not arguing for apathy or, like, wanting you to fail. It is arguing it about the allocation of your finite energy.
Okay, so let me see if I have this right. Fighting tooth and nail over who gets the corner office is kind of like going to war over a flower that is going to be dead in 3 hours anyway.
That is exactly the point. It is a massive misallocation of resources. By contending for temporary dominance inside the maze, you are exhausting the exact energy you need to step outside of it.
Oh, that makes sense.
You're sacrificing permanent attainment, what the text calls the Tao or celestial fruits, just for a fleeting flash. Contention actively binds you to the dream.
Okay, so once we stop frantically grabbing for excess, and we stop sprinting toward the mountain, and we stop fighting with everyone around us, we are suddenly forced to sit still.
Yep. And sitting still is hard.
It really is. And when you sit still, the noise moves from the outside to the inside, which is why the sutra pivots from physical actions to our internal emotional landscape. And it begins with, do not worry.
And the logic it applies to worry is remarkably stoic, honestly. The text states, what is meant to go will go, what is meant to come will come. Everything follows its destiny.
Which is tough to accept.
It is. It's basically asking the reader to recognize the sheer arrogance of thinking that your worrying actually changes the timeline of events.
And to drive that home, it uses this gorgeous grounding imagery. It says, cloudy in the morning, clear in the afternoon, spring forests bloom everywhere.
I love the weather metaphor.
Me too. Think about how you relate to the actual weather. Like if you wake up and it's overcast, you don't stand on your porch and agonizingly worry about the clouds.
No, you just grab a jacket.
Right. You know the weather is a system infinitely larger than yourself, and you know the sun will eventually break through. The sutra is pleading with us to treat our internal weather, like our passing moods, our circumstantial anxieties, with that exact same detached observation.
But here is the catch. The moment we manage our internal weather and stop worrying, a new trap emerges.
Of course it does.
We start to feel like we've mastered our environment. We feel enlightened, which is why the text immediately counters with, do not be arrogant.
Keeping the ego in check.
Yes. It warns, no matter how high the wisdom, one cannot predict the next second. No matter how great one's ability, one cannot prevent misfortune. Humility is best.
Okay, let's contextualize that arrogance for a second. Imagine you are driving a brand new, state-of-the-art luxury car.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
You've got blind spot monitoring, lane keeping assist, automatic emergency braking, predicted AI navigation, the works. Sitting in that driver's seat, you feel like an absolute master of the road.
You feel untouchable.
Exactly. You are totally insulated by human wisdom and ability.
Yeah.
But you still cannot predict, nor prevent, a 2-ton oak tree from falling directly onto the highway in the exact next second.
Wow. Yeah, that's terrifying but true.
Right. True humility, according to this text, isn't about putting yourself down or having low self-esteem. It's about accepting that terrifying blind spot. You were never fully in control.
But accepting that blind spot logically triggers human anxiety.
Yeah.
Because if a tree can fall at any moment and I have absolutely no control over it, how do I not live in a state of constant panic?
That is the million-dollar question.
The sutra addresses this directly with the next mandate, which is do not be anxious.
Oh, just don't be anxious. Easy.
Right, if only. But the proposed solution is to entrust the outcome to the greatest creator, to the justice of the Tao, and to the mechanics of cause and effect.
Okay, but this is where the philosophy feels like it could veer into fatalism. How? Well, if I am supposed to just surrender to the Tao, how is that any different from just giving up? How do you differentiate between not forcing an outcome and just sitting on my couch doing nothing?
That is a great point, but the text provides a crucial safety valve for that exact concern. It says to entrust things to the Tao, but only while simultaneously pairing it with this instruction. Put in your best effort daily.
Okay, put in your best effort daily.
Yes, this is the definition of active surrender. You do everything within your power today. You hone your skills, you chop the wood, you carry the water, and then you completely release your psychological grip on the results of that labor.
So it's about severing the link between effort and expectation.
Exactly.
Like, I put in my best effort because that is the right action in the present moment, not because I'm trying to extort a specific reward from the universe.
And if you can sever that link, you neutralize the next major internal obstacle, which is do not be afraid.
That's a big one.
It is. And the sutra asks a brilliantly rhetorical question here. It says, if you have done no wrong, why fear ghosts knocking on the door?
I love that.
It assures the reader that if you do good deeds, though the heaven's net is wide, nothing escapes it.
So if you aren't rushing, and you aren't contending or hoarding, and you're just putting in your best effort daily without demanding outcomes, fear actually loses its mathematical probability.
You're just resting in the wider net of cause and effect.
So we've dismantled our chaotic outward behavior, and we've systematically quieted the internal storms of worry, arrogance, anxiety, and fear.
Which is a lot of work.
A ton of work.
Yeah.
And now we're standing right at the precipice of escaping the maze. So what is the final step?
The final step requires dismantling the actual structure of your own mind.
Okay, that sounds intense.
The sutra instructs, do not be obstinate. It warns against believing that you are always right and clinging stubbornly to your own perspectives. The ultimate goal is to reach a state of harmony without obstruction, which demands absolute mental flexibility.
Okay, think about the last really intense argument you had with a partner or a coworker. You knew you were factually, technically right.
Oh, I've been there.
We all have. You dug your heels in, you presented the evidence, and you won the argument. But in doing so, you completely damaged the relationship.
Right. You won the battle, lost the war.
Exactly. You created an obstruction. Obstinacy is being so attached to your own correctness that you proudly stand in a dead end, entirely missing the actual goal, which was harmony.
And breaking that stubborn rigidity is the only way to unlock the ultimate endpoint of this text, which is called the state of eightfold liberation.
The state of eightfold liberation.
The sutra explicitly states that to achieve the right fruit early, one must reach a state defined by 8 specific negations. These are no secular ties, no possessions, no self, no sadness, no worries, no attachment, no pessimism, and no fear.
Okay, we need to slow down here, because reading that as a rapid-fire list does not do justice to how staggering a concept it actually is.
It is a massive list.
I mean, no fear and no worries. We can logically track those based on the earlier rules, but no secular ties, no possessions, and the most terrifying one, no self.
Yeah, that's where people usually balk.
We usually think of enlightenment as adding something to ourselves,
Right.
gaining wisdom, gaining peace. But this is entirely subtractive.
It is the ultimate dismantling. I mean, let's look closely at no self. In modern Western thought, the ego is everything. It's our brand, our identity, our entire narrative.
So to have no self sounds like a kind of death.
It does. But in the mechanics of the sutra, the self is just the filter that convinces you that you are fundamentally separate from the vast world.
Okay, it's kind of like emptying every single item out of a heavy backpack, just steps before the summit of a mountain.
Oh, that's a perfect way to look at it.
Like it feels impossible to give up your tent, your supplies, everything you think keeps you safe.
Yeah.
But it's literally the only way to make the final climb. Or honestly, it's less like giving up your identity and more like taking off a virtual reality headset.
Yes.
When you have the headset on, you think you are this isolated avatar fighting for survival in a digitized maze.
Yeah.
Taking it off doesn't mean you cease to exist. It means you realize you were never actually the avatar to begin with.
You're just removing the filter
Yes.
that was generating all the artificial friction. You aren't losing anything real.
That's profound.
And that mechanism applies to the entire Eightfold Liberation. The text actually notes that every word and sentence must be carefully pondered.
Meaning you can't just skim it.
Right. If you have genuinely followed the do-nots like, if you've stopped accumulating possessions, stopped forming secular attachments through contention, and stripped away your ego's obstinacy, the Eightfold Liberation isn't a magical state you just suddenly jump into.
It's a natural result.
Exactly. It's the logical, unavoidable, mathematical remainder. It's what happens when the equation is finally balanced.
And when you reach that state of total weightlessness, the sutra reveals the ultimate reward.
It promises that by achieving this state, you will transcend the three realms, free to move between heaven and earth. You have fully realized the right fruit.
Free to move between heaven and earth.
You are no longer subject to the rules, the gravity, or those demonic obstacles of the inverted dream.
Wow. It is a dizzying, profound architecture to wrap our minds around. But let's bring this massive philosophical framework right back down into the room with you, the person listening to this right now.
Always a good idea to ground it.
Right. Because you do not need to be actively attempting to transcend the three realms by, like, next Tuesday to extract immediate life-altering value from this translation.
No, not at all. The absolute brilliance of this text is its scalability. Even a 10% application of these mechanics changes the friction of your daily life.
Think about your commute tomorrow. If you just remember the underlying logic that rushing biologically narrows your vision and creates disorder, you might sit in traffic differently.
Totally.
Or the next time you face a seemingly impossible deadline. If you remember the proverb that the road only reveals itself when the car actually reaches the mountain, you can save yourself days of premature panic.
And if you merely internalize the weather metaphor, just knowing that your current anxiety is a cloudy morning that will inevitably give way to a clear afternoon, you instantly have a wildly powerful tool for navigating your own maze of confusion. These frameworks survive because the fundamental architecture of human attention and our vulnerability to distraction remains consistent over time.
Human nature doesn't change.
Nope. The demonic obstacles change shape, obviously, from ancient temptations to modern smartphones. But the mechanism of getting caught in the dream is identical.
But as we close out this deep dive, there is a fascinating, slightly provocative paradox buried in this text that I really want you to mull over on your own time.
Oh, the paradox, yes.
The entire sutra outlines a highly disciplined path toward achieving the right fruit, becoming a celestial, and reaching a state of absolute no attachment and no self. But doesn't the very burning desire to master this text to achieve this liberation paradoxically become its own form of secular attachment?
It really is the ultimate philosophical trapdoor. I mean, how do you actively strive for a goal when the fundamental requirement for achieving that goal is the complete cessation of all striving?
How do you try while simultaneously letting go of the fact that you are trying? It is a puzzle that might take an entire lifetime of pondering to untangle.
Good luck with that one.
Seriously. But until you solve it, as you continue to navigate the noisy, demanding dream of your daily life, just remember to take a breath, don't rush the mountain, and keep illuminating your heart's lamp to light up the vast world.